Hey, que la que hay mi pana, it's Rocky here from SpeakSpanishFaster.com y en el video de hoy vamos a hablar de los saludos, presentaciones y despedidas. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the greetings, the introductions, and the farewells. Now, I want to give you 5 phrases that you can use for each, so that way, whether you're traveling to a Spanish country or meeting a native for the first time, you can at least properly greet and introduce yourself. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. Before we get started, remember that it's not so important that you remember every exact translation for these words, but more important that you know what these phrases actually represent. For example, every video here I started off with que la que hay. That's how you say what's up in Puerto Rico. Now, I've never actually told you what I was saying or what it meant, but by now you probably knew that que la que hay is some type of greeting. So if I saw you randomly in the grocery store and walked up to you and said, hey, que la que hay mi amigo, ¿cómo estás? You probably know how to respond and you know exactly what I meant without actually knowing the exact translation for what it is that I was saying. Now, in reality, you really only need to know one phrase for each section, those sections being the greeting, the introduction, and the farewell. But I'm going to give you a few options here today because the more phrases you hear and the more phrases you are familiar with, the easier it will be to recognize when others talk to you. Because even though we can control which words and phrases we use, we can't control which words and phrases others use. So the more we know, the better it prepares us for future interaction with native speakers. One thing to remember is that when you're going to another country, they may have their own greetings and stuff. So be sure to do your research. The majority of the phrases I show you today will be basic and universal for the most part, but each country has their own lingo, just how New York has their own lingo and is different than LA's lingo. But by having a basic knowledge of the generals, you'll be able to understand greetings in pretty much any country. Vamos a empezar con los saludos. We are going to start with the greetings. Now, obviously, we all know the basic hola and cómo estás, so I'm going to skip those ones, but I will say those could be more formal, so I would always recommend in a formal setting, like a business setting, you may always want to stick with hola and cómo estás, basic phrases like that. I wouldn't walk up to the president of a company and say, hey, que la que hay mi pana, especially if it was the first time meeting that person. But for the most part, the majority of us just want to know how to converse with people in the streets when we are out and about, and that's going to be more of an informal interaction. So the following greetings I give you will be much more informal. So let's start with ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal means what's up, how are things? It's pretty much the same as ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué la que hay in Puerto Rico? ¿Qué lo que in the Dominican Republic? ¿Qué onda in Mexico? But ¿Qué tal is more universal than those phrases. So those 3 I just mentioned, you won't really hear them outside of their country. Like when I lived in the Dominican Republic, all I heard was ¿Qué lo que? Dime a ver. I didn't hear much ¿Qué la que hay in the Dominican Republic. But also, you will never hear phrases like ¿Qué onda in Puerto Rico, in the Dominican Republic, or in Spain, but ¿Qué tal is universal. You will pretty much hear it in any country you go to. The next word, número 2, ¿Qué hay de nuevo? This means what's new. So you can go up to someone and say, hola, ¿qué hay de nuevo? Hey, what's new? The next phrase is ¿Cómo te va? This is one of my favorite ones. This one is pretty much like, how's it going? Notice all these words pretty much mean the same thing, but again, depending on which country you're in will determine which phrases you actually hear. The next phrase, ¿Cómo andan? Pretty much the same as the others, and for the 5th phrase, you can add after those phrases. So número 5, we have tanto tiempo sin verte. That means long time no see, so you can use that phrase after the others, like, hey, ¿qué tal? Tanto tiempo sin verte, ¿cómo tú estás? Next, let's proceed to the introductions. Pretty much everyone knows the basics. Hola, me llamo, my name is. But another common way you can introduce yourself is by simply saying yo soy. I am, and then state your name. I always give the examples of Narcos. When Pablo first introduces himself, he says, yo soy Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. So remember, you don't always have to say, hola, me llamo. You can sometimes just say, hey, yo soy, and then state your name. Okay, so next let's talk about how to actually introduce someone. Let's say you've brought your girlfriend to your house for the first time and you're introducing her to your mom. You could say, le presento a, then the name, or you could say, te presento a, then the name. Le versus te is just usted versus tú. So if you're talking to your parents, like your mom, you may want to use the usted form, so you would say le. But you might not, so you might say te. But let's just keep it simple and say, te presento a mi amiga, name. Or another example, 1 second, te presento a mi perro Maisie. Now, of course, with an introduction and a greeting, we'd be interacting with other people. So we need to have some go-to responses in the queue for when other people greet us or introduce people they are with to us. The main go-to is mucho gusto, which simply means nice to meet you. Another one you can use is es un placer. That means it's a pleasure to meet you. I remember from the movie Double Take when he meets the boss's wife for the first time and he greets her by simply saying, es un placer en conocerte, señora. Also, you can use the word encantado, which means delighted or delighted to meet you. Okay, next we will cover the farewells. This is very simple. We all know the basic adios, but let's cover some other ways you can say goodbye or ways others may say goodbye to you. These will be similar to the greetings, where you'll see that there are many different phrases that literally mean the same exact thing. For example, we have hasta luego, nos vemos, te veo más tarde. Those all mean see you later. I literally use all three of these. There's no real rhyme or reason why I don't just use one. It's really whatever comes out in the moment. But if you're just getting started, then I would highly recommend that you master just one of them. So pick one, and every time you say bye to someone, use that one. Then over time, you can try another one, and another one, and another one. So you can become comfortable with all of them. Another thing you can say that I like to use a lot, especially over the phone, but sometimes in person, is the word hablamos or chequeamos. Hablamos is like we'll talk. Chequeamos is really informal. It's like I'll check you later. But if I'm talking to like my cousins on the phone, I'll say something like TANTO, chequeamos. So what I'm saying is está todo, chequeamos, which is like that's all, I'll check in with you later. Some countries you'll hear the word chao, which means goodbye. So basically the same thing as adios. And last but not least, you can always add the phrase que te vaya bien, which is like have a good time, to the end of all of those words. So let's quickly recap the 15 phrases that you should have at your disposal or at least be familiar with. So for los saludos, we have ¿qué tal?, ¿qué hay de nuevo?, ¿cómo te va?, ¿cómo andan? Those are all forms of what's up. And then we have tanto tiempo sin verte that you can add if it's been a while since you've seen that person. Now for the introductions, we have yo soy, we have te presento a, and then the name who you're presenting to. Those are some of the basic ways to introduce yourself and to introduce a friend or someone you're with. Also, remember, this is how people will introduce themselves or their friends to you. And when they do, it's important that you have some phrases down in response. So we have mucho gusto, es un placer, encantado, all pretty much meaning nice to meet you. For las despedidas or the farewells, we have simple phrases that either mean goodbye or see you later. Hasta luego, nos vemos, te veo más tarde, chao. Then of course you can toss on que te vaya bien, which can mean have a good time, or like I hope everything goes well with you. All in all, don't get trapped in trying to remember the exact translation for all these words. Simply bundle them into categories like I've done. This will help your Spanish flow more easily because you won't always be overthinking about every word you're going to say and what exactly it means. I would also take the phrases I shared with you today and place them into boxes or buckets. You know that the first few phrases that I use are to greet someone, so we can throw those into the what's up box. We know that the next section is the introduction and the answers to the introduction. So as I showed you, you can use some of those phrases to simply mean nice to meet you. Last but not least, we have the despedidas, and you can say that all these words simply mean goodbye. Easy peasy. I recommend doing this for many of the other words you learn in Spanish. Instead of always trying to remember the exact translation, try to group similar phrases into categories or buckets, so that way when someone says a word to you that you can't remember but you know it's in the same category as another word, then you'll be able to understand it for the most part. This will drastically improve your comprehension and your speaking ability. If you found this video helpful and you would like more training for your Spanish, be sure to go visit our website speakspanishfaster.com/YouTube, and you can go through our free training series that will show you ways to better speak and comprehend Spanish. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please do me a big favor and hit the like button, comment below, let me know any questions and concerns that you have regarding Spanish. That's the best way to help me make sure I'm providing you with content that can help you. Last but not least, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking that red subscribe button under the video. We upload a video every Saturday to help you with your Spanish. Until next time, nos vemos.